is a pack house today. GM, yours truly, Terry in the bullpen. Baseball themed episode. GM.
Excited.
Welcome to Nation Domination. This is the playoff edition, round 2 upon us. I am wearing blue for World Autism Awareness Day. Just to let everyone know what's going on. Well, I'm wearing blue, so it is a very important day.
I absolutely recognize it, and it's a cause that I'm 100% behind, and I support completely. However, with that in mind, you often wear that switch.
I do. Kind of goes hand in hand. All right, well, let's dive into it. GM, we have the first weekend of action for Div 4. Your thoughts as a whole from what transpired last Sunday and last Saturday? Your team lost.
Yeah, I'm out of the playoffs. There were a lot of games that were really, really interesting to watch. We saw some outcomes that were as expected, some outcomes that were not. We saw teams really play up to their potential, and teams both figuratively and literally drop the ball.
Yes. Not many upsets. I mean, if you want to consider Crisp, your team losing, the team I think has been upset that could be because, again, you guys were almost in play for the 1 or top 4 seeds.
It goes to show you, we'll touch on it a little bit more, how important a center and a rusher are.
I thought coming away from the games that I watched and score kept, I thought Ghosts were very impressive. I know they kind of made it closer than expected. But the one thing that we will give props to, Simon Dagenet single-handedly beating Mustangs, DG.
I predicted that score exactly. I said 30-0 will be the outcome of this game, and I was right.
Well, he took your spot last week, and he's like, we're talking about Gabriel Wiseman, who plays for the Ghosts, and he's like, he's a great player on my team. I go, no one knows who he is because he plays with you. So no one knows who plays with you. But look, I think now looking ahead, looking at the rest of the scores that we have. I mean, again, Mark of the Middle winning by 1 against Lobster Dinner, which was a fantastic game to watch. Punt returners, Ghosts, again, closer than expected, but it was a 26-0 lead at half. So there wasn't really much of a close affair, unless you want to consider, again, Malud A-Squad, which went down to the last play.
Did it ever.
And unfortunately for A-Squad, they had it. They should have won that game, but unfortunately choked that game away. Eagle is calling or choking away right now. Otherwise, in your mind, everything went according to status quo?
I think considering Layduck Dynasty against 69ers in Week 10, Layduck Dynasty took it. We're really unable to execute the second round. Mm-hmm. A lot of 3-and-outs from Frederick Paquet-Perot. Dylan Drake rushing him really...
He was a monster.
It was a monster.
Yeah.
It was key third down sacks that destroyed them. Absolutely destroyed them. Recipe for the disaster against Zoo, one way or the other, would have resulted in a recipe win, considering Zoo had a player with
found
only
out
5
actually
games played.
Jeremy Gauthier actually was given an exemption from our president, who failed to notify yours truly.
And the rest of
Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into the action. That's what people want to know. We don't talk about the past. We talk about the present and future. Let's go into the first of many games we have in our docket here. 6 Fast Guys, Team Ethnic, a Goliath, David matchup here. Last meeting, 6 Fast Guys won 44-26. Fred Vien, 7 TD passes. Andrew Garofalo was at quarterback, 4 TDs, 1 INT. 6 Fast Guys, 7 times this year they scored 40-plus points on a 5-game scoring streak of 40-plus points. I'll ask you this question. Did Team Ethnic have their Super Bowl last week in defeating Crisp?
I think so. Having nothing to do with the fact that I lost, considering we were without players, I don't know if this magic can happen again for Team Ethnic. In all honesty, I don't know, if Angel Garofalo will be healthy enough to play again, considering he was looking a little worse for wear in the Crisp game, only playing on defense and not playing in the Moose game right afterwards. I would have said, even considering he might have been the better option over Benoit Lawler at quarterback, considering the matchup they have against 6 Fast Guys.
How do you stop Fred Vien if you're Team Ethnic? They had a good game last week against Terrace Morrissey, but how could they come up with a better plan this week?
Keep the ball for as long as possible. I said it in the Div 3 podcast on one of the matchups. You need to slow down the game. When you have a quarterback who completes 4 out of 5 of every pass he makes, you need to keep the ball out of his hands. You need to slow down that game, take as long as possible as you can in the huddle, wait till 10 seconds every time, and also score.
You talking about, again, Garofalo's injury or health status for this weekend here. For Ben Lawler, If Garoppolo is able to play on offense, do you see a rotation of quarterbacks? Maybe certain packages he'll come in for, say, second and short, third and short to run with his legs, given again he's very shifty more than Ben Lawler?
I think that if they do that, they're going to need to evaluate after the first 2 offensive drives with Ben Lawler whether or not they want to proceed with him, because they don't want it to be too late when they make the switch and they're worse for the wear.
Okay, one player not named Garoppolo that will be a threat to the 6 fast guys is who?
Samuel Murray.
Fair enough.
Playing rusher and one of the top offensive leaders on this team.
If Fred VanVleet has a bad game, which 6 fast guy player will step up to the plate to carry the load? Again, he is quarterback, so he does dictate the offense, but again, on both sides.
If he's having a bad game, you know it's going to be his brother, Marc-Antoine Gay, because of the fact that if he's having a bad game, he knows he always has that safety outlet running those quick drags.
Now, question is, if a bad game means being a 65% passer, is that a bad game or is that a good game?
I think comparatively, that's a bad game. I think if it was anyone else quarterbacking, it would be an amazing game.
Ethnic, quickly here. Ethnic, if they hold 6 fast guys to less than 30 points, do they have a chance?
Do they have a chance? Yes.
Fair enough. Backyard Bullies, Malud, no meeting between these two teams. How lucky was Malud to get away with a win against A-Squad?
I think it showed them that they are fallible in a sense, and it really gave them an insight as to the different teams that they will be matched up throughout this playoff run. With that in mind, I think this is a nightmare matchup for Backyard Bullies, despite the fact that they are the higher seed going into this.
Now, they're coming off an ugly loss to 2.5 Downs last week of the year. They've been off now.
And a break of a week.
Yeah, exactly. So a 2-week break for them. Does this hurt them, though? Because you're off for 2 weeks, coming off a bad loss. You want to get back into it. And again, you mentioned the matchups right now. This could be a bad matchup for them.
Not only could it be, I think it is. If you were asking me to bet on this, I would say Malud are the safe bet in this one, considering they are all athletes. They have they have everything in place to really counteract what the Backyard Bulls excel at.
If Rich Humes, we know he runs the ball very well, and he has had some clutch throws. If he can't control the game with his arm and legs, do they have a chance?
If he can or cannot?
Cannot. If Rich Humes cannot control the game
do
with
they have
his...
a chance?
Yes.
I think even if he can, they're going to have a lot of trouble. So if he can, the game is over. There's no one who can step in for him. He is the heart and soul of this team. He makes the best reads. He uses his players to their utmost. But if he's not on point, they might as well pack it up.
21 INTs from Malud's defense. Is it on them to win this game? I think it is.
Without a doubt. They have a fierce rusher. They have short zone defenders who jump passes, who take away reads instantly. They have deep threats as well. They're solid from top to bottom.
You know, I've scorecapped a bunch of bully games this year, and trying to figure out their offensive identity. Is it a balanced offense? Because, again, they have 2 players with 250-plus yards receiving, or is it a lack of a game breaker in this offense?
I don't think there's a lack of a game breaker on this offense. I think they just make do with what they have, and considering that when you have a defense that steps up so hard, either getting those turnovers, those 4-and-outs, or interceptions naturally means that you're going to have less passing yards because you don't have to march the field.
The one thing about Malud is their emotions. They will get a little riled up. We know how riled up they can get every so often. Now, can they control their emotions now, given how we're deeper into the playoffs? Maybe an OC or UR could cost them, obviously, yards. A key player for 5 plays, and maybe who knows what else.
It almost cost them the Div 5 championship 2 years ago. So, and that was even later on. That was at the end of the semifinals, going into the finals, like post semifinals game. So, I think the fact that you say we're close into it, we're still in the divisional round right now. So, I think that yes, it's hurtful, but they've done worse.
Shamrocks 2.5 Dans. Last time these two teams played, Shamrocks won 21-18. Your boy Doogie McKernan, 2 TDs, 2 INTs. Joy Taylor, 3 TDs, 1 INT. Does this game have first team to 40 points wins?
Nope.
Really?
Neither team will reach 40 points.
They both scored 40 this year multiple times.
Multiple times, however, not against each other. And I think that this type of matchup, just like it was last week, the Dans will frustrate the Shamrocks. Shamrocks need to think outside the box going in to really create that separation, because this game was super close the last time these two teams faced each other and could have gone the other way.
Shamrocks, which player will rush Joey Taylor? And look, people say he's easy to rush, but he completes passes. So who can rush him and have success against them?
It all comes down to who you want to remove from the equation. You have someone like Chris Pansino who has breakneck speed, or if you put someone like Jordan Alexi. If you put Jordan Alexi rushing Joey Taylor, you see a totally different game, because the only person, whether it's quarterback or otherwise, who is shiftier than Joey Taylor in Division 4 is Jordan Alexi. And he has that capability to really neutralize that. But then you lose him at safety.
And that's the thing. You leave a hole deep.
However, if I were to make a game plan, I would say you can give up the deep, because that's not something that 2.5 downs excel at.
No, they're kind of like a
maybe running a 4-1 with Zachary
dink and dunk offense.
Maybe running a 4-1 with Zachary Alexi being the solo deep with the corners locking, and then having
essentially three guys defend the rest of the field.
Alexi rush.
Can you describe the 2.5 downs offense in one word? I think
messy.
frenetic. Ooh, messy. I like frenetic.
I like efficient.
Efficient. Terry?
Sloppy.
So
it's not sloppy
messy
because it works for them, though. Like I understand it's not the prettiest to look at, but we always poke at the type of style they play, but they win games.
Effective. Very effective. There's my word.
There you go. That
Sloppy effective. Slow-effective.
Okay, fair enough then.
I'm taking off my slippers because my feet are sweating.
We have slippers?
Yes.
More dangerous threat, Chris Pisano or Danny Award?
Chris Pansino.
Really?
Yeah. I think just having that upper division experience and really being able to lead the team when the time counts, it will be the difference maker.
Okay, I'll give you a stat line here. Joey Taylor, 7 times this season, he's been over 70% passing completion. Dougie McCurry, your boy, 8 times, over 70% passing completion. Will one turnover be the difference with these two quarterbacks in this game and change momentum for the opposition?
Yes. Considering, as I said, I don't think this is going to be such a high-scoring game, absolutely one turnover will be, because it's going to swing the momentum the other way. The game is going to get slowed down. Both teams are going to march up the field, and that one turnover is going to be.
I agree. I think one turnover will be the difference, but I think converting on 3rd and 4th down will be big for both these teams,
yes.
especially 2.5 downs.
Without a doubt.
Because you talk about dink and dunk, and you're right, McCurry can go deep with what he has on the outside, but I think for Joey Taylor, he's got to be able to be effective 1st and 2nd down to make it 3rd and 1, whatever it might be as well. How disappointing would this loss be for both teams, whoever loses, considering that they're the favorites and had really good seasons this past winter?
I think it's disappointing for anyone who comes this far. The 16 who made it into the playoffs were now down to another pair of 16, considering those who had the bye week. It's disappointing no matter what. I know that, considering I'm on the outside looking.
But again, for these two teams, though, I mean, a lot of hype, especially for Shamrocks, and they'd be like a one and done essentially.
Yeah, Shamrocks have more expectations. Let's put it that way.
Higher
considering
expectations,
considering the roster that they've fielded,
right?
They definitely have more to lose.
One more game before we go to break here. Cream Team 69ers. No meeting between these two teams here. Would you say this is a fascinating battle between these two teams with different styles?
Absolutely different
Big
styles.
roster with Niners, smaller roster with Cream Team. Style of play, they are more rugged on Cream Team. They're more deep ball threat on the Niners here.
It's really interesting, because if you asked me this going into this matchup before having seen 69ers beat Leduc Dynasty, I would have said 69ers are going to really, really excel. However, Cream Team play a different style of football than 69ers, and just the athletes that are on Cream Team, along with the relentless rush of Joey Blue, rushing against Shea Harbor, is going to be very, very interesting to see. So I'm tending to sway a little bit away from 69ers rather than for them.
How big was that win for the Niners, though, with Shea
Huge.
Harbor? Because it seemed like LDD had the number, which they did 2 weeks ago, and then it seemed like they had the number first half.
Shea Harbor took what the defense gave him and found the matchups to abuse.
Do you think they'll be more relaxed now?
No. I think that with the difficulties of the Cream Team defense, he will not be as relaxed as he was and as confident as in the Leduc Dynasty.
You talk about Joey Blue, the pass rusher for Cream
Joseph
Team,
Bozanovic, yeah.
and Dylan Drake, 2 phenomenal pass rushers. Who do you give the edge to? Because this might be the key X factors for both teams.
All things considering, I think that I would give the edge to Joey Blue, considering that the rush on Jared Humphreys isn't going to be as effective as it is on Shea Harper. It's going to really keep him in the pocket, force him to make that quick read early, rather than buying time with his feet and seeing what develops deep.
You know what? I agree with you, but I think for Dylan Drake, though, it's a matter of putting Jared Humphrey in a vulnerable throwing position. Essentially, putting the ball back foot into double coverage, put his players, his DBs, in position to make a play on the ball. That's going to be his key. Matthew Monat, Alex Grace, two lethal weapons on offense. How do the Niners counter these two guys? Dean Demetrio being a big factor, maybe line up with one of these guys?
Without a doubt. However, with that in mind, Humphreys is great at spreading the ball, finding the open receiver, and if Demetrio focuses on one of these two guys, he's going to find Humphreys is going to find the matchup to exploit. We're also not even taking into account Jordan Edwards.
Now, if he's healthy, does he have an impact in this game?
Correct.
Will he have an impact in this game?
If he's healthy, yes, absolutely.
Who needs to stop the deep ball, though? Because they both throw the deep balls here. So who needs to stop that even more? Because it seems like the Niners throw the deep ball more often.
If Buzanovic does his job and really keeps Shea Harper in the pocket, there won't even be a deep ball. So I think that
medium
with that
ball.
in mind, 69ers need to stop the deep ball.
Very well
from
done.
Crib Game.
Come up next, we'll talk about Schmuddy RVD. You ever think they ever do that?
Rob Van Dam?
They can do it, right? Talk about them, who has the edge in that matchup here. As well, game changers Marco in the middle. Anton Sarkis, maybe the FPF jinx? Find out next here on Nation of Domination with GM, Eagle, and Mokon. Calling the Audible has been brought to you by the English Montreal School Board's DEAL program. Distance education for all learners will allow you to obtain your high school diploma or prerequisites for SageUp or vocational studies from the comfort of your own home. It's never too late to go back to school. Learn anywhere at your own pace and get your diploma. Call 514-788-5937 for information or visit www.distanted.ca for more details. Welcome back to Nation Domination. As we are gearing up for the last half of this show, let's dive right back into it. Let's go into the next matchup. GM Cole 44, Eagle FPF at MoCon19. Roadshow.
We have yet to read a live tweet.
We don't have any live tweets. No one's listening to this podcast. Are they, Eagle?
I got you. No, they're listening.
Any tweets?
The GM, not to you.
Perfect. Let's go to the next game here, as we'll read your tweets as well. GM Cole 44 at MoCon19, Eagle FPF.
You know you want to tweet at Eagle FPF if you want the actual chance of having it read.
Absolutely. Shmoney R4D. No meeting between these two teams. Shmoney, here's a key stat for you. Shmoney 0-2 when they scored less than 26 points this year. Recipe for disaster, 6-game winning streak, including the playoffs here. How much of an edge do you give Sean McGrath over Jake Applebaum at quarterback?
McGrath is definitely the more experienced of the two outside FPF. He's definitely been developed as a quarterback, very, very strong in his rookie season here as well. You give the edge to him, but just barely, considering Applebaum has a more intimate knowledge of how the league works, how playoffs work as well, and the league as a whole.
Okay, so you give the edge to Sean McGrath. Barely. Could Ryan Reedy make his life difficult in this
Without
game?
a doubt. I don't think that as of yet Shmoney have faced a rusher as good as Ryan Reedy, with the exception of David Fauché, and when he faced David Fauché, he lost.
Not good. Not good.
at all.
Kevin Bustani, 5 INTs during the regular season. Is he going to lock up with James O'Hine, who had 18 TDs during the regular season?
I don't think that Recipe for Disaster's game is to lock up and go man-to-man against one player and really try and mitigate it. It's more about stopping the whole picture, which, as we saw in the game, in the Zoo Recipe for Disaster game, rather than simply locking up on Pat Saint-Amand, Recipe for Disaster did their thing and limited Zoo as a whole.
One question mark about Shmoney is what? Their lack of depth of a roster. Again, they're about 6-7 guys per game. Could that hurt them in this matchup?
I don't think so. It's definitely in the same way that Vinny Gulano's team Grip and Rip only have 7 players. You have the best 7 possible, providing this is the playoffs and everyone shows up now, unless you're crisp. Providing everyone shows up, you're set because you know who plays where. You have these guys are all young athletes. They're not going to get tired running around for 44 minutes. So it's not an issue at all.
Game changes mark in the middle. We have a tweet from Vince Nardone. Is there a better rusher in Div 4 than Ryan Reedy? Well, he miswrote then. It's supposed to be THAN, not THEN. Anyway, game changes mark in the middle. Changes 1, 25-24. Anton,
Answer the question?
no. Resend that tweet. I'll answer it.
He's going to do it, right?
I know you will. Changes 1, 25-24. Anton Sakis, 3 TDs, 2 INTs. The Bashara Hogan split QB duties as well in that matchup here. Is this, in your mind, the Changers offense versus Marco in the middle defense, who had 13 INTs this season?
It's so hard to tell considering the seriousness or lack thereof of Marco in the middle. It all comes down to, I think that, they have no business messing around here. I think they're going to start with Matt Bashara as quarterback and really just proceed from there as usual. With that in mind, I think that this game is not going to be as close as it was the first time around. I think the game changers will have learned more from this game than Marco in the middle has.
Okay, so how does the game changers counter Eric Bashara in the open field? Because he catches those quick slants or quick hitches, and away he goes for 20, 30 yards.
Jump the route.
But should they do it, though? Should they risk it, though? Given, again, that he could do a stop and go or something along those lines.
That would be an interesting trick, running a stop and go from a
I don't know if
slant.
I don't know if they've ever done it before, though, right?
Well, wouldn't that be like the Marshawn Lynch slant in and up?
Could be. Can it work, though? And
Correct.
could it work, though? But what do they do, though?
It all depends on if, I know we're digressing, but it all depends on if the safety is occupied on a corner or a post that's really dragging the safety away from that slant and up.
Terrence Dobson, if he is healthy and ready to go, I know he's been at the last few games for them. If he is healthy, do we see any contribution from him in this matchup?
I don't think so. We also have another tweet in from Vince Nardone. GM, if I'm making a team this summer, who should I message first? Buffone or Alex Lewis? I would message...
Well, first of all, don't answer that question because he miswrote the sentence. Buffone of Alex Lewis? Tweet us again.
I'm gonna answer because I kind of want to. I would pick Buffon, not because I dislike Alex Lewis. In fact, he is a teammate of mine, but he has potential hernia surgery being injured. So I would, on that basis and that basis alone, message Buffon.
You
All right.
Gianluigi, right?
All right, back to the question at hand. Terrence
Yeah, we need
Dobson.
a 40-year-old keeper in FPF. Terrence Dobson.
Yes. Any contribution from him if he's going to play this weekend?
If he plays, of course, there's going to be contribution from him. I think he's going to match up very well against the Marco in the middle defense. And even if he's not targeted consistently, he's going to draw attention away from other players who will get those catches and that yardage.
Anton Sakis had a rough start to the year, 6 INTs in the first 5 games. He's only thrown 1 since then. Does he
He's still
dare?
playing in Div 3.
Exactly, with you guys. Does he dare to throw to Gordon Hogan's side, who is
No.
a ball hawk?
I think he needs to occupy Hogan as much as possible and then attack the intermediary. Hogan will absolutely... We have another tweet in from Vince Nardone.
I eat oatmeal.
Read it out loud.
Ryan Aridi wants to know if there's any better rusher in Division 4 than Ryan Aridi.
No one.
No, I
agree.
wholeheartedly. If he's the all-star rusher in Division 1.
Who farted?
Anyway, back to the question at hand
Yes.
here. With Sakis, he doesn't throw to his side; he occupies him. But who do you think has a better supporting cast in this matchup? Marco in the middle, or
I think
game
Marco
change?
in the middle, considering the experience they have, both in past seasons and just what they bring to the table, have the better supporting cast.
All right, Grip and Rip Dragons, GNR 138-19. Vinny Galano, Sean Abram combined for 5 TDs. Simon Dagenet, 3 TDs, 3 INTs. Key stats here. Simon Dagenet has thrown an INT 8 out of the last 10 games, excluding last week's 30-0 victory.
He was great in that game.
He was phenomenal, flawless. Dragons, by not playing last week, does this hurt them in their rhythm and trying to keep up with this team?
I don't think so, because Grip and Rip didn't play last week either.
Well, they're on a bye week, though, right?
Correct, but a spade is still a spade in that Grip and Rip did not play and Dragons didn't play.
All
I
right.
don't think it's as big an issue as if one team played and another did not, where they're more likely to upset the higher seed.
So, with no Vinny Galano this weekend, who do you trust more quarterback, Simon Dagenet or Sean Abram?
I would still trust Sean Abram a little bit more than Simon Dagenet, considering the experience he's had in this league, playing in it since the inception and really evolving along with it. However, we mentioned having smaller rosters where missing one person might be key. It's going to be interesting considering the fact that Grip and Rip will have no subs. I would, if I were Simon, I would throw fly after fly after fly just to
Test them.
Yeah, test them,
Right.
wear them down, make sure that it becomes a battle for the second half. See if you can exhaust them early on.
Bigger impact in this game, Jeff Fortier-Poulin, who had 18 TDs, or Mike Zanabi, who had 11 sacks?
Simon isn't the type of quarterback who's really going to get sacked a lot.
No, he doesn't get sacked that often.
So I think that with that in mind, JFFP is definitely, he's a big physical body. He's able to catch Simon's passes. Simon knows where he's going to be and has that trust in him. He would be the bigger difference of the two, considering I don't think Simon's going to get sacked a lot in this game.
All right, only 4 times this year the Dragons have scored 30-plus points. Could they afford this game to be a track meet?
Yes. We just mentioned how it would definitely be in their better interest to really run deep, make it a lot about the athleticism, and try and wear out the defenders of Grip and Rip.
All right, Coyotes Ghosts. No meeting between these two teams. Alexis Gaumont.
Oh yes, Gordon Hogan. We have a non-media member tweeting in.
Yeah.
So first,
This is big breaking news here. Dun, dun, dun.
Hogan would actually like Vince Nardone to shut up because he's being distracted. It's being distracted from talking about the future Hall of Fame status of Gordon Hogan.
Who gets in first in the Hall of Fame? Vince Nardone or Gordon Hogan?
Vince Nardone.
Gordon, for sure.
No,
Oh, that's a
Gordon,
great question.
Gordon is a top-tier talent,
No,
but
Gordon.
Gordon, you need to
Gordon's
start
got my
playing higher
heart.
divisions.
Yes, he threw Terry under the
Tell him.
bus.
Tell him.
All right, Coyotes Ghosts. No meeting between these two teams here. Alexis Gaumont has thrown an INT in 4 games in a row. Coyotes, 2-parter here. A, is this a trap game for them? Because, again, this is a team that lost 2.5 downs in the opening playoff round last year. And are they the Atlanta Falcons of the FPF? Great offense, but can't produce when it matters most.
It's going to be very interesting considering that these teams are both very reliant on their quarterbacks. Feeder, for the most part, is the more consistent of the two. But it comes down to a pickle when he has a consistent rush on him. He's not able to lead the pocket and really has to go with his first read, whether it's there or not.
So much pressure's on the Coyotes then?
I think the pressure is more on the Ghosts to fluster Sammy Feeder.
Okay.
I think that the Coyotes are the expected winner in this one, and it's up to the Ghosts to prove us wrong.
Gamon, does he get enough credit for what he's done? 6 times he's passed for 5+ TDs this season. They've put up some points, but I mean, obviously, we don't talk about them being or slaying the big dogs.
Is he not getting enough? I don't know if I agree with that because it would put him in a more elevated status. But a lot of the quarterbacks in Division 4 right now are even surpassing 5 touchdowns. So not yet. No, I don't think he's deserving of that. But he's on his way.
More of a threat in this game: Andrew Langbert or Jeremy Carrière. They're both good.
Yeah, I think right now it's going to be Andrew Langbert because when you look at the stats, your eyes automatically go to Josh Feeder. And what happens is that when teams start to key in on Josh, Sammy will run from the outside, a stop and go from Langbert, which is often open because they're crashing inwards trying to prevent Feeder from getting those extra yards.
Before we go to the tweet here, how important is this fast start for both of these teams to get off to a fast start and control tempo?
It's going to be huge. It's going to be a back and forth where stops are going to be the key difference in this game.
All right, then.
Considering neither team is really standout defensively.
Yes. Before we go to our picks here, Vince Ardone again. At Eagle FPF. GM ... Simon Dagenet's throwing style or Joy Taylor ... I apologize for any mistakes ... At Hogan9. Very regular wink. Okay. Playoff picks.
You didn't answer the question.
There was a question?
I didn't know. There was a question or statement. Couldn't tell.
Joey Taylor or Simon Dagenet's throwing style? Pick.
I think as difficult as it is to read the pass in the air, I would side with Simon on this one.
And this one?
If a tree falls in the forest, will Mocon 19 learn how to read good? We're starting to get off the rails. As much as I'm enjoying it, because unfortunately we do have other shows.
Yeah, we got to get
I
this
could talk
show
about
on
this for an hour.
We could.
I really could.
Playoff picks. 6 fast guys. Team Ethnic. 11.5 points for 6 fast guys.
I'm going to side with that and with the spread.
Backyard Bullies. Malud. 3.5 points for Malud.
I'm going to side with Melwood and they'll beat the spread.
Shamrocks. 2.5 dance. 4.5 points for Shamrocks.
I don't think the spread is going to be met. And
Really? Okay. Fair enough then. Who wins?
I don't know. I really don't know. When in doubt, I'm going to have to go with Shamrocks.
Cream Team Niners. 2.5 points for Niners.
Nope. I think Cream Team are going to win this one.
Okay. Shmoney. Recipe for Disaster. 5.5 points for Shmoney.
Nope. I think Recipe for Disaster have a surprise in them.
Okay. Game Changers. Marco in the middle. 6.5 points for Changers.
Yep. I will take Game Changers and the spread on that one.
GNR.
I love you, Hogan. I'm sorry.
GNR Dragons. 2.5 points for Grip and Rip.
2.5 points. Yes, I will take that.
Coyotes Ghost. Ghost. 3.5 points.
I will take that as well.
Oh, wow. Okay, fair enough. And what do you learn in today's episode?
I learned that we actually have viewership in this podcast. It's not just Ryan Aridi and my mom watching the show.
Excellent.
We have people who actually tweet us in.
Eagle, I learned we can throw MK off his script with random Twitterness. Maybe.
Random Twitterness or random tweets?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
I learned... Are you trying to distract me? Yeah, a little bit of A, a little bit of B. I learned that Vince Ardone uses then. Come up next to 5 Podcasts. You'll Never Walk Alone with the Jordan of the show, Terry Tam, pulling a Jordan for today's episode. Stay tuned for that here at UncleMikeShow.com. Wherever else.
Off his game.
Good morning, South Korea.